Welcome back, dear viewers, and this is the Rays of Hope, and today we are discussing courage, resilience, and hope, and what it means during the context that we find ourselves in. Very, very interesting, and joined here by Reverend Canon Peter Karanja, and we've had a very interesting first part of the program. And we left it at the point where you were discussing the things that you learned at school and how that, had an influence in you, because we were saying that these qualities must be cultivated and we must be very intentional. Yes. Let's take it up from there. How have you built your resilience then over time, because you linked courage to resilience? Canon.
Yeah, remember I said that resilience is the cumulative effect of exercising courage in face of challenges. Literally, you can call it the quality of being an overcomer.
Quality of being an overcomer.
All of us face the same challenges. The challenges destroy some people completely. But your capacity to keep rising from the knocks that you face from your environment and your circumstances can in you create a capacity over time to actually face life and the challenges around you with a mindset that you will overcome. But also, resilience is about looking for a way through the challenges, not just hanging around and praying, which we must, but also asking, in this situation, how do I navigate through? As we said at the beginning, faith is a resource that we hardly utilize to an extent proportionate to our needs for it, and as our environments call for it. And one of the things that happened to me very early in life was to face challenges that came. I lost my father when I was in standard 3. So I was raised by a single mother. Just getting to live every day was a challenge. To talk of going to school required that every resource in the home is made available and applied. And I wasn't going to make it by being casual.
No.
So from very early, I built in this desire to excel in the circumstances. So that when I was in paraffin to light the lamp, I woke up earlier and go to school just as light was setting in, so that I have long hours of study in daylight, because I don't have the advantage. And there was no electricity
those days.
So the diligence of working hard and studying was created by necessity and doing a little more than my classmates. For some reason, in most of my adult life, I did face significant challenges, even in the church. One of the things that really comforted me in understanding that I'm a child of God, and God has no grandchildren. God has only children. And Sunday school children are God's children in their own right, like the bishop. The youth are God's children, like the elder. The women are God's children, like everyone else in the church. Gave me such security in the Lord and in the church. I was never intimidated by anyone. But this thing that I mentioned earlier about looking for a way to work through a problem, I think is very critical in finding the nurturing of resilience. And you could say leadership is really about problem solving. People don't need you unless you can solve a problem for them.
Wow, you can say that again. I think that's big.
Yeah, leadership is about problem solving. There are enough problems around us. At home, at church, in school, in business, they are rampant. And Kenyans are experts at defining problems. They tell you every challenge we have, every challenge that will sink us, every wrong thing everybody is doing, reasons for hopelessness are available in every home, in every family, in every institution in Kenya. Now, there is nothing genius about knowing and defining problems. Really, you begin to make a mark. If in the face of those challenges and problems, you can find a solution. Homes need solutions. Institutions need solutions. And if you create that orientation in our life, we have a problem, how do we solve it? You begin to get insights into solving the problems that come. Resilience is about that capacity to thrive in the midst of challenges and find ways through them, and if possible, that those ways should become consistent and sustainable. That's how societies become resilient and sustainable. Everybody must find what works for them. Every institution must have the boldness and the courage to face their challenges and work through them and find solutions. Therefore, you've heard it said that every problem is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Every business that thrives solves a problem. Every service that earns a livelihood for people is a service of value and that can bring benefit because there is someone whose problem it is solving. Every individual who thrives and becomes somebody of value will be solving some problems for themselves and for the people around them. That's how resilience is nurtured. And I'm not a mourner. In life, you'll not find me mourning and being depressed and feeling hopeless. Even in my tenure at NCCK, every time we defined the challenges that we saw in the country, you found that in our statements, we always said, what is our insights about how this problem can be solved that we recommend to the country to consider. Some of them for citizens to pick up, some of them for the people who have the responsibility and who are duty bearers at different levels to engage and to undertake. Sometimes they were scoffed at when we said them. Several years down the road, you find they are adopted and taken. But in my own personal life and that of my family, we have adopted problem solving as our second nature. When I joined NCCK 13 years ago, my wife and I sat and we said, I want us to consider my job at NCCK as my last job. Just assume that when I'm done, maybe there won't be a job that I can pick up. But the stomach will still need food. So what do we need to do on a daily basis that prepares us for that stage in retirement when the monthly salary check might not be coming, and none of us will work to earn a salary until we die, unless you die early. Most people will have a time which will come when that will stop. And like I said earlier, working with where are we and what do we have, we have consistently created a resilience. Sometimes in some of the most unusual and basic ways, but you'll not find us begging.
Wow, thank you, Canon. And that brings us to hope, which you have earlier alluded to.
Yes.
Then how does hope come about in all that? And how, again, do we build that?
Yeah, in a most rudimentary way, hope is about the certainty that things will turn out well in the end. Remember in Hebrews, the definition of faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
seen.
When you stretch it,
Yeah.
hope is a dimension of faith.
Of faith.
You are faced with present challenges and realities, but you have a capacity in your mind to conceptualize a future that is better than your present, and which you have confidence is possible, and therefore you have hope,
Yeah.
but also which now challenges you to begin working with your present circumstances and issues in order to make that hope a reality in the future. So you could say that hope is the raw materials for hard work. Hope is the raw materials for enterprise. Hope is the raw materials for innovative engagements, because you have a reality that you can see
Yeah.
and you hold dear,
Yeah.
and a present reality that isn't that,
It's not very promising.
and
maybe.
which could be very far
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what you hope for. And then your life
Yeah.
and the things you undertake must
Yeah.
create the bridge
Yeah.
that connects your present with that reality
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
hope for
yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
In faith issues, it's possible to be careless and casual and just believe that God will do things to make that thing you hope for real without your engagement. But we are co-creators with God. God has hope that once He has given us a vision and an expectation and a conceptualization, we shall find a way to apply ourselves every day towards that
Working
achievement.
towards that, yeah.
And so a child who hopes to wind up with a good qualification and hopes for it,
Yeah.
you'll find that from the point when it is clear what he or she wants, they must co-create with God that reality. They'll be studying when others are sleeping. They'll be asking teachers questions so that they understand better when others are playing. They will be carrying work home to work in the evening and during school holidays.
yeah.
And they will be making their choices and their selections in light of the dream that they have, for which they have hope. Then the day they graduate, they are not lucky. They have birthed and
Yeah.
caused to come into reality something they longed for.
Yeah.
And you've seen kids crying at their graduation parties, wondering, you mean it came to pass?
This is me.
It was so hard
Yeah.
getting there, but I so
Yeah.
desired it. And hope really is the substance of life.
Yeah.
When you stop hoping,
Yeah.
you will not be very far away from beginning to die.
Yeah.
Now, one of the challenges we have as Kenyans, because of the culture of mourning and grumbling
Yeah.
and complaining,
Yeah. We are the serikali
we have
saidia people.
generally
Yeah.
overwhelmed our young people and destroyed their hope and found people for them to blame for everything that is not
Working.
going
Yeah.
right in their view, rather than selling to them promise that a future is possible.
Yeah.
You can become successful.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in a day.
Yeah.
Clarify in your mind what is it that you want to seek for, and find what to do every day to make that possible. And the culture of theft and corruption is about shortcuts to dreams
to that-
and aspirations.
that future.
Because the culture of hard work and resilience
Yeah.
is scoffed at
Yeah.
rather than rewarded and nurtured and celebrated. Yep.
Wow. That is profound. And I remember our latest G talking about even our education system sometimes doesn't encourage problem solving and reaching at that promise.
Yes.
While sometimes in other lands he used to compare South Korea and the way he would talk to young people there, and they were thinking, like, if I'm an engineering student, they would think, in my lifetime, I want to build, I don't know how many kilometers of roads.
Yes.
When I finish, it's about service. It's about bringing that promise to be, not for
Absolutely.
just for yourself, but
For the society as well.
for the society. And And yeah,
to solve
go
a
ahead.
problem for people.
For people.
That's the point of
Wonderful.
learning.
And so hope has kept you going, Canon.
Absolutely.
I see that picture of this young boy who would have lamented and being hopeful that, you know, their hero was no more.
Yeah.
And you'd have lamented there. So this hope kept you going, and this picture of the future kept
Yes.
you going until you found yourself at Alliance and beyond at the university, and you've become who you are today.
Yes.
Wonderful. And we thank God for that. So what have you been up to, Canon, as we start winding up? Because I see you still have the charisma. You are still the same. And so post NCCK and all the limelight, what is this that makes you tick as well?
It's very nice to be
Yeah.
out of NCCK, to enjoy private space, to be away from the public glare, and to enjoy family and children and grandchildren and live. Of course, COVID-19 has been an interruption to me as to many people. I told you that when I went to NCCK, I processed with my wife that we should be okay if this is the last job that I will do, and we should every day find what to do to make it possible to thrive and live post NCCK if there is no other job. Several things have gone on. One, I was invited by the leaders of the Mount Kenya community called GEMA, and they said they think I have knowledge and skills in my peace work and my people work to be of help as they try to build consensus and unity within the Mount Kenya region, and as the Mount Kenya region engages with other communities. And in the last year, I've spent substantial amounts of time helping clarify thinking around BPI issues, apparently, and even conducting some intra-Mount Kenya community civic education, especially within the church, which is in my element because this is something I love to do. But 8 years ago, while I was at NCCK, I interacted with the concept that food is medicine. Then I was busy engaged in trying to build hospitals for NCCK, and we got some done before I left. And this was personal adventure prompted by a friend that there is almost food that is medicine for any disease that you may have. And if you look keenly and do a bit of research, you may actually improve your health overall by the food choices you make intentionally, rather than rely on medicines, which most of us do. And my experiment, my wife and I, in the experiments that we did, found that to be true. I was able to literally normalize my high blood pressure on food.
On food.
In a relatively short space of 6 weeks. I'm cutting long stories. Then, in the fascination that food is medicine, I wrestled with the question, how can you overcome the task of finding what is medicinal and preparing it every day from scratch? So that if you're on safari, then you cannot take because you cannot prepare.
Yeah.
If you're swamped up with things and you're too busy, then you cannot. If you're a man and your wife is on safari, then you are thrown to your devices. And my mentor, who apparently has since gone to be with the Lord, told me, you can actually overcome that by fermenting. And we began a fermenting experiment 8 years ago, finding the foods that are medicinal, which are useful for our conditions, and fermenting them together so that every day you are chottering to take rather than juicing and blending and things. Very fascinating. We began to share with some of our friends. And that very rudimentary engagement resulted, while I was at NCCK, in the creation of a brand of a health supplement, which is herbal, called Eden Health and Immune Booster, which we began to place in the market on a low key for all that time. But because it's a whole huge enterprise field and innovative idea, and I'm not a scientist or a doctor, it required a lot of research, which I had plenty of time to do in my spare time. A very expensive hobby. But before we went very far, Loriondo broke out in Tanzania, and everybody was rushing there.
Busloads of people
and
going.
A pastor was giving people concoctions that were supposed to make people well. And I thought, we are caught up in another Loriondo in Kenya, unless we find a way to distinguish ourselves from that kind of practice. And so our concoction, which we were taking and enjoying, I took it to Jomo Kenyatta University and said, analyze this product. Tell us, is it safe to take? Why is it making people well? And the food labs at Jomo Kenyatta University found a huge outlay of nutritional elements that can make people well in amounts comparable with supplements in the shops. And they found there were no pathogens or molds that would harm people. We followed up and took it to KEBS. KEBS requires that if you're going to manufacture a food product, it must be in a hygienic environment that they inspect before they can pick a sample to test, which they did, and it passed at KEBS, so it had the KEBS standard mark, and therein we had an enterprise in the making.
Wow.
Down the road, there are 7 variants of this product called Eden Health and Immune Booster.
Wow.
We have one called regular, one called premium, one called PL3, PL4, PL5, PL6, and PL5 and 6 have a hot variant that has pepper, so you can take it hot or you can take it normal. We have a plant that does it, where it is done, again, which is serious. It has the WHO Good Manufacturing Practices certification.
Wonderful.
And we are the only herbal products manufacturer in Kenya that has the GMP certificate that is granted by the Kenya Farmers and Poisons Board. And you could say that in the short time I have been retired, in quotes, I've had time to invest in this enterprise so that we have the GMP certification that has come within this time. And we have advanced a lot in the regulation process for it. It's listed by the Kenya Farmers and Poisons Board. It's under tests for efficacy and safety at Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, and we are basically breaking the ceiling. And there are numerous testimonials about the impact of Eden Health and Immune Booster. Boosting faith for health in the people who patronize and take it, and giving me something to do that is so fulfilling as we see the impact it has in people's lives.
Wonderful. I feel there's a lot of content there.
Absolutely.
And I think because this is rays of hope, if the food for health is giving hope, there's no reason why we should not hear that in the near future.
Absolutely.
So we'd want to hear more about that. And it's good to know that you are still rebranding yourself. You are still moving on courageously and with resilience, and very hopefully that even that's an opportunity that you saw in the future that was available and you went for it. I want you to just give a final 30 seconds a parting shot to the viewer who is feeling maybe discouraged and all that.
Just to tell viewers that there is no question. God has placed us in this world, and if we know Him as Lord and Savior, He has a purpose and a design that we can keep discovering as we go along. And to say, nobody owes you anything. So you ought not to spend your life grumbling and complaining as though you are owed so much. It is you who owes your family, who owes the society, And you should be working hard to find what is it in you that can be tapped into and exploited so that you solve problems for people and you solve problems for your family. Instead of joining the grumbling train, you join the Problem Solvers Club, which is very lean. Thank you.
Very well said, Canon, and I want to thank you very much for taking your time. I mean, you're still busy and very well occupied, even what you're doing and other public engagements, and thank you for finding time to be here. We hope to host you back soon.
Thank you.
God giving us the opportunity. Dear viewers, thank you very much for being with us. That's all we had for this week. Take care, remain courageous, be resilient, and be hopeful. God is with us. God bless.
Thank you.